Greetings, fellow explorers of knowledge, and welcome back to the deep dive. This is the space where we really get into a subject, right? Immerse ourselves and hopefully surface with some cool insights.
Absolutely. Ready to plunge in.
Okay, but first, gotta get the gears turning. Why don't scientists trust atoms?
Oh, I think I know this one.
Because they make up everything.
Uh-huh. Okay, you got me there. Classic.
I'm Hari, by the way.
And I'm Kimi. So what are we diving into today?
Today, we're setting our sights on Madagascar, specifically its incredible lemurs, and our guide. It's this amazing reference work, Lemurs of Madagascar.
Ah, yes. The guide, really. It's kind of the Bible for lemur researchers and enthusiasts, and it's fascinating how it's evolved.
Exactly. That's what struck me. The first edition, back in 1994, identified 50 species and subspecies. Seems like a lot, right?
Yeah, 50 sounds pretty comprehensive.
But then the second edition jumped to 71, and the third, in 2010, it recognized 101.
Wow, over 100. That's quite an increase in, what, less than 2 decades. It really shows how much our understanding, or maybe just the classification, has changed.
It really does. And we should mention the key people behind it. Russell Mittermeier, he's the president of Conservation International, the lead author.
Right, a huge name in conservation. And you can't forget Stephen D. Nash, the illustrator. His artwork is, well, it's legendary in primate circles. People use his drawings in lectures all the time.
They're apparently that good, yeah. So the book aims to help with field identification, obviously, but also summarizes all the ecological data, conservation status. And really, it seems designed to just get people interested in saving these animals.
Which is crucial. So inside the book, the structure is pretty detailed for each species, I assume.
Oh, incredibly detailed. Each section gives you identification pointers, physical descriptions, size, even their calls. Plus, you get range maps.
Maps are always helpful.
Definitely. And then there's natural history behavior, diet, their social lives, and conservation status, threats, where they're protected. It even suggests where you might actually see them for ecotourism.
That where to see it part is brilliant, linking knowledge directly to, potentially, conservation funding through tourism.
Speaking of behavior, here's a fun fact I picked up from it. Male ring-tailed lemurs, they have these thorny spurs on their arms.
Spurs, like sharp bits.
Yeah. And they use them to scratch marks onto trees. Then they rub scent glands on the marks. It's kind of communication territorial marking, maybe.
Huh. That's oddly specific and fascinating. Scratch and sniff, lemur style.
Pretty much. But, while we know these details about some, like the ring-tailed, the book also highlights how little we know about others.
For sure. There's a huge variation. Take the hairy-eared dwarf lemur, for instance.
Right. I read about that one. Super elusive.
It's extremely. Even experts really struggle to find it. The book mentions places like Analamozotra Special Reserve or Forêt de Vohitrozana as maybe your best bet. But even there, it's really unpredictable. Shows how much is still out there to learn.
It's kind of humbling, isn't it? Even with this massive book, some species are practically ghosts. And the book doesn't just cover the present, it looks back too, right?
Yes, it gives a really good historical overview. It traces lemur exploration and research all the way back to the first description of a ring-tailed lemur, which was apparently in 1625.
1625. Wow.
Yeah, right up to modern research by Malagasy scientists and international teams. It really puts the current knowledge into context.
And speaking of the past, didn't it also touch on the extinct lemurs, the giant ones?
It did. Things like the monkey lemurs, sloth lemurs, which were huge and slow-moving, apparently, and even koala lemurs.
Koala lemurs. Okay, now I'm intrigued.
And Nash's reconstructions of these extinct creatures were apparently a real highlight for reviewers. Just fascinating, they said. Really fires up the imagination about what Madagascar used to be like.
Makes you think about biodiversity loss, too. Which brings us to conservation, a huge theme in the book.
Absolutely central. It details the threats. Habitat destruction is the big one. Deforestation for farming, logging, and hunting, too.
Yeah, the bushmeat trade. Grim stuff. But it also highlights the positive efforts, right? Groups like the Madagascar Fauna Group.
Exactly, and political commitments to expand protected areas. But it stresses that the need for action is, ongoing and urgent. It's not a solved problem by any means.
Which loops back, in a way, to that huge jump in species numbers we talked about earlier. That hasn't been without debate, has it?
No, not at all. While this book series definitely reflects, and maybe even drove, the increase in recognized species, some prominent researchers, like Ian Tattersall, have voiced concerns.
Concerns like?
Like maybe it's a case of taxonomic inflation, Basically, questioning if splitting species, especially into many monotypic one species with no subspecies, is always biologically justified based on the evidence.
Right, because Tattersall's own big book from 1982 listed far fewer species, didn't it?
Much fewer. I think it was 22 species and 29 subspecies back then, compared to over 100 now. So it's a significant difference in approach or interpretation. It shows taxonomy is still a very active, evolving field.
And the book itself has evolved too, not just in species count. More authors involved over time.
Yeah, the list of contributors grew with each edition, showing more collaboration in the field. And they added new chapters, too, like one on Madagascar's deep geological history in the third edition, broadening the scope.
So overall, how was the book received by the scientific community, aside from the taxonomy discussion?
Overwhelmingly positively, really. Reviewers praised its depth, the illustrations, obviously, its usefulness for both scientists in the field and interested tourists. And its role in promoting ecotourism as a conservation tool was often highlighted.
Any criticisms?
Some minor points. I think the first edition lacked an index, which was added later, and some reviewers wished for even more ecological detail, if you can believe it, given how much is already in there. But generally high praise.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, Lemurs of Madagascar isn't just a field guide. It's more like a living document reflecting everything we're learning about these incredible animals.
Yeah, a dynamic compilation. And that species count, even with the debate, just underscores Madagascar's amazing biodiversity and why we absolutely need to keep studying and protecting it.
Definitely. Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Considering these ongoing discoveries, these debates about classification right under our noses, what other parts of the natural world might be holding similar surprises? How much hidden diversity is still out there, just waiting?
Something to ponder.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of lemurs. Until next time, take care and keep exploring.
Farewell, everyone.